to Now. No opportunity wasted. I'm your host, Angelica Ross. Today is Monday, April 29th. May is right around the corner. And I hope she's bringing flowers because I'm ready for summer to begin already. I know it doesn't officially begin for some time, but here in Hotlanta, the temperatures are starting to rise above 70. So I got to start keeping up with that pedicure, update my vaccines, and get ready to be outside. And when I mean outside, I mean with nature. Having two Dobermans now it just is essential that we get outside and have as much time surrounded by so much beautiful nature here in Georgia. And that's one of the many reasons that I moved here. Okay, today, y'all, I am talking with another one of my amazingly talented friends, Fọlákẹ Olówófôyekù. I know I'm going to say Fọlákẹ Olówófôyekù, star of the CBS hit series Bob Loves Abishola, which is in its sixth season, y'all. Congratulations, Falake. Falake has had an amazing journey and story, and we will get to that in just a moment. But first, let me set the tone with a quote from Buddhism Day by Day Wisdom for a Modern Life by my mentor, Daisaku Ikeda. It says, quote, our efforts for the sake of dialogue, in order to be worthy of the term dialogue, must be carried out through to the end. To refuse peaceful exchange and choose force is to compromise and give into human weakness. It is to admit the defeat of the human spirit. Socrates encourages his youthful disciples to train and strengthen themselves spiritually, to maintain hope and self control, to advance courageously, choosing virtue over material wealth, truth over fame. End quote. Speaking of refusing peaceful exchange and choosing force, a wave of activism is washing over college campuses all across the United States, and it's being met with excessive police force. Now imagine this: students from Emory to Berkeley, Northwestern to NYU are not just hitting the books, they're hitting the pavement. Protests against the war in Gaza have sprung up like daisies, baby, reminiscent of the Occupy Wall Street vibes or the anti apartheid rallies of the 80s. These brilliant young minds swapping lecture halls for tent cities, calling their universities, which are not just centers for learning, but also financial powerhouses, to divest from Israel. Their point? If a university invests in companies that do business in or with Israel, it's indirectly supporting the ongoing war in Gaza. These scenes at the universities across America are not just protests, it's a full blown movement. After a police raid that led to hundreds of students getting arrested with brutal force, you can bet that this will only fuel the fire even more. I saw a clip of a young black man in Georgia being interviewed with a group of kids and saying that they weren't interested in voting for Biden at this point and that Democrats really need to listen. There's also a clip of that same young man being brutally arrested by police. So, why should we care? Why is a ceasefire necessary? Just like any family squabble, nobody wins if it escalates too much. The losses are real. People are hurting, and the students are not just fighting for the sake of argument. They are standing up for humanity. By pulling out financial support, they argue that universities can make a statement and put pressure on peace talks and say, hey, enough is enough and let's fix this together. So, to everybody listening, whether you're sipping coffee in your cozy nook or jogging through your morning routine, think about this. Change often starts with bold actions of just a few. And these students are not just tomorrow's leaders, they are today's champions, asking for a world where peace isn't just a subject in a history book, but a reality. So let's cheer them on and hope their calls for a ceasefire bring us closer to a resolution because, honey, the world definitely needs more healing and a lot less hurting. And that's the T. Now, for my conversation with Falake, but just a heads up, y'all, My mic was not plugged in for the first like 5 minutes. So the audio you hear coming from me is going to come from my computer mic for a second. So please excuse the technical difficulty in the beginning, but I guarantee you will be inspired by Fọlákẹ's journey. Take a listen.
I want to say congratulations to you. This is great. When I heard you were doing this, I was like, definitely. I've been trying to work with you for a while, and I'm like, whatever Angelica's doing, yeah, put me on it. Yeah. How am I feeling? How am I feeling? Uh, I feel great. And feeling great is never conditional. I'm in practice of that now. And so, regardless, I will always be great.
What is spirituality? What is spirituality started out as for you? And what does spirituality look like now for you?
Spirituality started out like it starts out for all of us before before programming comes into play. And so I'll say my initial programming, because I think that's what you're asking, right? Was in Christianity. Uh, but in Nigeria, my grandmother is also Muslim, and in Nigeria, it was you're Christian, you're Muslim. There was no further thought outside of that, and so my mother being Muslim was just a matter of fact, and I had those experiences as well. But I also my parents were Christian. My mother was Anglican. My father was Apostolic, and then I went to Catholic school initially, and then my grandmother is Muslim. So I was exposed to everything, and didn't think very much of it. I think for a little while I was very devout when I was younger, probably like around 9 or 10, a devout Christian, and had a goal to read the Bible from front to back. Um, and then I started just questioning some stuff, especially around how it was fear that was used to control us. Well, where I was back home, it was like fear. There were all these books about what happens when you go to hell, and that didn't really resonate with me. And so as I got older, I first of all I was always led by intuition. I was the last child, so I spent a lot of time by myself. I daydreamed a lot, and that was a wonderful practice because as I got older, I found that intuition and being mindful and listening to my body was enough. Was enough. What feels good to me, and not in a glutinous way, not in a way that's just focused on a good time in quote, but in a way that's focused on vitality and peace of mind. Peace, like what brings me peace. So, and I find that anything that's surrounded with love or has to do with love feels the best. And so my religion, my spirituality is love.
I heard that. And and I think that I feel like that's the one thing people miss a lot, whether it's Christianity, whether it's, Muslim, uh, Judaism, or whatever it is, Buddhism, whatever. If love is not at the center of what you are practicing, baby, you better go back and read something. You better go back and do something else because
you missed the most important
you
part.
are missing the most important part. If it's got you so filled with spending your time engulfed in anger and hatred and all of these different things. Now, don't get me wrong. As a Buddhist, we have the 10 worlds, and anger is one of those worlds. But with each of these places, there's a positive and a negative. So there is a righteousness sometimes with your anger or whatnot. But your practice, spiritual practice, should be more about the conversation with your own soul.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, it's cute to help and save
Mm-hmm.
other people's souls or whatnot, but you need to save yourself first. And I think a lot of people, especially in America right now, we all struggling right now. Sweetie, yo, you got dishes. The baby still need to eat. Like, you got other things to do than worry about my trans, self. So, so you mentioned your parents, and I read that your parents are chiefs.
Yes, both of my parents are chief. I'm actually getting a chieftaincy title as well. I'm getting two. My family has always had like a presence in the West. My father took a boat to England. My father was born in 1917. So he took a boat after his initial education in missionary schools in Nigeria. He took a boat to go study law in London School of Economics. That's how you traveled back in my father's days, by boat. So since then, we've always had a presence, even probably earlier, because my grandfather was a trader, so was a merchant. So maybe even earlier than that, we've always had a presence in the West. So traveling has always been a part of my DNA from when I was young. My father had a presence in New York, in Canada. He was very well traveled. So was my mother, and all my siblings.
So your parents were okay with the traveling, but were they okay with the acting and the music?
No, in fact, I had no desire initially to be an actor. The reason I got into acting was, it was my whole life was all strategy. It's like I had to just have escape strategies all around. And when I first came to America, I came on vacation. It's a long story, so sit down.
Yes, we got time. It's a podcast.
All right.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. You know, I am a very technical person. I am. That's how I set up, these lights, these cameras, the sound, and all this stuff, or what have you. But sometimes technical difficulties happen, and we don't have the right microphones hooked up. So you should be able to hear me now and hear me much better now. So we're just going to continue the conversation where we left off, and you were talking about basically how your parents felt about you being in the arts and doing art and music, and saying that you initially weren't really focused on being an actor.
To be honest, and I don't think I've ever gone in depth with anyone about this, I just felt when I was in Nigeria, and I was in Nigeria until I was 18, I just felt like I was floating. I felt like there was no purpose. I know purpose is like is a buzzword right now, but even more than that, it's quite an impactful and powerful word. But I didn't grow up with a sense of purpose. I know what I needed. I know what I wanted to do personally, and it was music. Outside of that, no one was really talking to me or having those conversations with me in Nigeria. Like, we don't have a tradition of doing that. And I knew what my calling was. I knew my calling was in music. And I tried to communicate that to the people around me. But even though my father grew up playing classical piano, he played the organ in church back in the day. And so we all grew up with knowledge of the piano. Most of my older siblings were classically trained. I came about later when my father was older, so mine just lasted about a year or so. But they couldn't fathom a career in music, and Afrobeats wasn't what it is now. And being able to, I now understand this as an adult, but being able to provide for myself, as I'm sure was my parents' concern, wasn't imaginable in the career that I knew was my calling. And so in Nigeria, I was hopeless. I had no hope. I was just gonna roam the earth until something happened, I guess, and something did happen. I had a lot of conversations with God as I knew Him then, and I made promises. I had bargains with Him. I was like, if I stop masturbating.
That's a hard one to give up, especially when you're young, like you just don't, you ain't controlled it yet. But yeah.
It's like, you're like, stop masturbating. Tell me I'll get to America. And so we had that deal going for a while. I didn't keep my end of the bargain, but I made it here. Um, and then once I was here, it was like possibilities upon possibilities and opportunities upon opportunities. I just went crazy, and that's why I think I'm so accomplished in diverse ways, because I got to America and I was like, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to play basketball, I want to model, I want to make music, I'm going to teach myself how to play guitar. Oh, I can act. Blah, blah, blah. Like, I just went full fledged into opportunity. I took a deep dive. I was swimming opportunity, and that led me to the City College of New York. because my sister lived in Long Island, and I knew to accomplish all the things I wanted in the arts, I needed to be in Manhattan. And I knew I couldn't do it if I was at home with my family. So I looked at the subway map and I said, I need to find a school up here. Because if I have to commute to Harlem, they can't say that I can't move out because that commute was over 2 hours. I would take the bus to the first when I had money. I used to flex a little bit. I started taking the Long Island Railroad. I don't know if you're familiar with New York.
I'm a little bit, but I'm not familiar with the Long Island Railroad though.
It's the train system that takes you from Long Island into the city, right? So at first I could afford that. I saved up some pocket money, and then after a while I couldn't, and then I would walk to the bus station, take the bus to Jamaica, from Jamaica take the train all the way up to Harlem.
Mm.
And after a year and a half like of that, I told my mom I gotta move out. It's just too far. I can't do it. And she was like, yeah. And so I moved out.
You
And
you are good at the long game. I
the
see. You are good at
long
the
game.
long game.
Yes, yes. And I got into City College in New York, and it was a breeze. And I saw flyers out for acting school, and I did an audition. And because I wasn't as invested in it emotionally and spiritually as I was with music, I was like, oh, I don't care if I fail in this. It's just so I can segue into music. And my family could accept this. If they can accept music, maybe they can accept this. And they were tolerant of that, and came to see some shows. But my ultimate goal was always music.
You got a swagger to you.
Oh,
Like,
thanks.
first of all, I knew that from when I first met you. I
Hmm.
can't even remember. Do you even
I feel
remember
like I quite,
do
yeah,
you
I remember. I remember very clearly.
when did we
You had
first?
on a red dress. This was
Ah, it was
yeah,
at the Vanity Fair, I
yeah,
think, a Hollywood
yeah,
party, young youth in
yeah,
Hollywood.
yeah.
Baby, you had on this suit
Hmm.
and you had like the high top fade kind of like, and I'm just like, who is this? What is this swag? And we took our picture together. And matter of fact, I'm gonna have to post up the picture.
Yeah.
But like, you have such a swagger to you. It's such a contrast, and this is how it should be, when you're an artist and you could do the things or whatever. But whoa, I almost didn't even know you were the same person as the actress on Bob Loves Abishola. And then you see the swagger you have in your music video and in real life, and I'm like, okay, you couldn't have always have been like this confident and this kind, because when you have a style like you have, it's something that's not truly patterned off anyone else. It's not like just going along with a conventional look, especially as a black woman in America trying to get into Hollywood and do the things like we know as black folks in Hollywood. You girl, you better get that relaxer and do certain things, or at least wear a weave and blah 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 if you want to get in.
Yeah, yeah.
So how did you get to a place where you were able to fully embrace your own style like this?
Uh, it's interesting you asked that because my mom said something to me like in her final year. Um, she was like, "Don't worry, soon you start making money and you can dress in your own style, like you have a different style." And I didn't really understand what she meant by that. This was probably when I was like 23 or something. And and in Nigeria, and maybe this has something to do with it. In school, we all wore uniforms, and then I was in boarding school from 10 to 16. And then when you're in boarding school, when you're there, you also wear uniform.
Mm-hmm.
So I was always
Mm-hmm.
in uniform, except when I was at home,
Wow.
which was very brief. And for the longest time, I just allowed my mom dress me because I didn't care what I looked like. Clothes were just always like, whatever. And then as I got older, I'd say about 13, 14, no, it was later than that, about 14, 15. I started really exploring with my own style. And in Nigeria, I was considered weird for it. I would wear my jeans backwards to school when we had we called it mufti in plain clothes. So when we didn't have to wear uniform, when we were mufti, I would go to school with my jeans turned backwards. And I just always felt happier that way.
Mm-hmm.
And fast forward to when I actually started buying clothes for myself and just exploring with my body and what looked good in me, what I looked good in, what made me feel good. I started to develop a style. I started to develop my own style, and I think America had a big part to play with that. New York specifically, because that's the land for artists,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and whatever I was into was okay, and I did garbage bag chic like no other, and I was allowed to explore the confidence. I have to believe that the confidence is innate because it wasn't necessarily nurtured. I had a lot of, as I told you, I spent a lot of time by myself. I read a lot of books, and within that world, I found my confidence. That also, in addition to what was embedded in my DNA from my father. My father's extremely confident, extremely confident. Like he was like a dapper dude, and so is my mom, one of the strongest people I know, and I, the confidence I would say came from not really caring what people thought because people didn't care what I thought. And so I created a world for myself that my acceptance was all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
And it hasn't always been linear. It hasn't always been a perfect practice,
Mm-hmm.
but it was formulated from a very young age because there was no other option for me.
Wow. That's that's amazing, and also just kind of, it's not that I haven't seen, again, folks who have that, but it's just, I know that to be a struggle. I know in this environment, it's not like it's an everyday thing that someone has that kind of confidence and is able to kind of go against the grain to eventually then find themselves.
It had to be something bigger than me because I actually remember one time standing in the mirror. I wasn't considered beautiful in Nigeria. I think there was like a handful of times I was considered beautiful. I was called.
Lies.
I was made for my lips. I was made fun of my lips.
Wow.
Even my complexion.
Wow. In
So,
Nigeria?
oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. That
Wait,
exists
wait, wait,
very
wait,
much
wait.
so.
Okay, so let's pause on that for a second because I want to know more, because I know for myself growing up here in America, my mom came from, the South and West Virginia really, and in the evangelical church, and just a colorist space, and because of the history and everything. And so she would always tell me to stay out of the sun, you're going to get as black as your bicycle seat. But that but that was like, understand, right? It's just mean, uh in Nigeria. So I never heard that. There's colorism in Nigeria? I'm lost.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
I feel like there's quite a lot that we as a community need to discuss together, African Americans and African, because having been in the country for so long, I now see, it's very clear to me what the disconnect is, and it's so unnecessary.
Uh-huh.
So unnecessary. Uh, yes, that was an experience. I was made fun. It wasn't until Angelina Jolie was starting to come up on the scene that my lips were considered sexy in Nigeria, and that was after I moved to America. And I remember telling my friend when she saw a picture of me, because they used to call me pomo lips. Pomo is a part of the meat that's really like jelly like.
We love it. We love them jelly lips.
So that's what they used to call me, or dodo lips. And like when I think about it, so dodo is what we call plantain after it's fried. So either they were calling me plantain lips or they were calling me the dodo bird lips. I don't know which one, but yes, that exists. And then bleaching it's a problem in the
Oh,
country.
that's right. So I do know that like, I did see a lot of pushing for the bleaching creams and things like that in Africa,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
in various parts, not just I don't think, not just in Nigeria. Um, and it just made me think when you said that. I got kind of, ugh. But what it made me feel was like, it's like when they said that Bo Derek, you know, invented box braids, or Kim Kardashian invented, and it wasn't until Angelina Jolie, And it wasn't just in Nigeria. Yeah, here too. I guess yeah, because I know when she came on the stage, all of a sudden now black women with these full lips, it was more of a desired feature.
Yeah.
It's sad that so much of our experience, and that is where colonization moves beyond land.
Mm-hmm.
Where like so much of our experience is not validated or valued
Mm-hmm.
until white people validate it and value it first.
Mm-hmm. This is where I feel like a lot of conversation should be had, because my my career has I haven't been supported by my people. Even just the story of having to come to America, like I would rather have stayed at home. I would
So,
rather have
so you're
stayed at home.
telling me that probably one of the biggest shows CBS has seen, going on 5 seasons. 5 seasons, girl. That's what the girls are.
Wow.
That's what the girls are working and praying for. So, like
Yeah.
5 seasons, that's a bona fide hit,
Yeah. Yeah.
and your people from because you still got people back home and all your
Mm-hmm.
siblings and
Yeah.
everybody. This is not like the biggest thing that's been celebrated from them.
I think they celebrate it. There's still intense debates on whether I am Nigerian or not. Um, but look, I understand. I understand the mindset of my people. I understand. That's what I was raised in. Those are my people, and I love them. But what's happening in Nigeria is fucking evil.
Yeah.
And
Are you what are you specifically thinking about politically or the
I,
the
in every sense,
violence?
in
Yeah.
every sense, the effect imperialism has had on my people is fucking evil. It's terrible, and I understand the mindset because I grew up in it, and having come out of it, I have a deeper appreciation and love for
Mm-hmm.
Nigerians, for Yoruba culture, for Africa, and I understand why they couldn't support me the way that I want, the way I need it. It doesn't make it easier to deal with even now, but I understand where it comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that it's not something that in Nigeria we have the privilege to be aware of, because even just basic necessities, what you need for what you need for all your needs to be met as a human being is made so astronomically difficult in the country that there's no space to think outside of survival. I understand that, like, and there's no question about that. It's a tough place to live. So I say all of that to establish the point that I do understand, but I still want to share my story, which is that I wasn't accepted until this project.
Mm-hmm.
And the opportunity from this project came from Chuck Lorre.
Mm.
And I'd been in the game for about almost 20 years before I got my big break.
Wow.
And it wasn't that I lacked talent. If anything, I was talented. I was more talented when I was younger. I was fearless and so much more talented. And there was no room made for it as an African woman,
Mm-hmm.
as a Nigerian woman.
Mm-hmm.
The support wasn't at home. I had to leave and find it outside of my people. And now I'm appreciated.
Wow, I'm just glad that you are appreciated and that you feel appreciated because you are just not only a bona fide star and beautiful and talented, but just deserving. And on this podcast, no opportunity wasted. What I love about the conversations that we have and the way it sort of always seems to flow is that you reveal for us how you deal with challenge, how you make the most out of the opportunities that you're given coming. So, because the situation is a lot is going on in the world right now, and it is challenging and folks are trying to escape all kind of dire situations, just let alone the things that we're not even speaking about, not only the genocide in Palestine, but in the Congo and with Sudan, and how the price of our technology comes at the price of children and women in Africa. And so much of Americans, especially white Americans, I will say, have this perception of Africa being this country, poor continent, and yet it's so rich in all of these things, and yet we take from these things, we take from this country, we take from this place that has all of these resources and in the land, in the space, in the environment. And what I think about is, as a Buddhist, we believe in reincarnation in the sense of, you know, we try to reveal for other people how they can take whatever it is that they're dealing with, whatever life condition they're dealing with, and they can become happy. They
Mm-hmm.
can reach that place of feeling great that we talked about that
Mm-hmm.
unshakable place. But what that looks like is being able to not have this need to want to compare your pain to others and to be in these sort of oppression Olympics around, well, you don't understand what I've been through. Well, maybe not, but pain is pain and
Mm-hmm.
challenge is challenge. And so, what this is about and what I want to do with this podcast in a way that is, again, both overtly in the ways that I share the Buddhism, but covertly, what I'm doing is highlighting people who, with this different challenge, coming from this different place, with this
Mm-hmm.
ability or lack thereof, English isn't the first language, or being Black, being a woman, being LGBTQ, being all these different things,
Mm-hmm.
so that we can finally, hopefully, get to a place where we focus more on the things and the that make us more similar and the things that we can relate to and connect to, instead of always focusing on the differences and letting those differences divide us.
Yeah, which is a lovely thing. I feel like our show was able to accomplish in a much needed time. Through COVID, through civil unrest in Nigeria and in America, it's highlighting the fact that we have more in common than we have in different. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I see this, how you're doing now. You feel great. Life is
Yeah.
great. What's next for Fọlákẹ?
I have music coming out this year. So for the first time ever, I'm going to really focus on music.
Hey,
I'm so
yes.
blind. I I over I over created for this album, so we have about 50 songs we have to select from, and yeah, and then at the end of the year, there's a movie that I'm very excited about, a project that I'm very excited about, that's
Wow.
going to be released.
Oh my
Um,
goodness. I
yeah,
can't wait for that.
yeah, and aside from that, I'm working on a lot of stuff. I'm working on a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff coming out.
Well, okay, so let me before I let you go, let me ask you this too, since we talk about opportunities and challenges. When it comes to your acting roles, like this movie that you have coming up, or whether you're on your series, what has been the most challenging part of coming to those roles and delivering what you want to deliver, and how did you sort of deal with and overcome that challenge?
Uh, I think the biggest challenge for me, and I've said a few times, golly, I wish I had recrafted Abishola a little bit differently. But she's authentic to a particular experience that I was choosing, I chose to highlight.
Mm-hmm.
And, but what was challenging was for 5 years staying within the confines of Abishola, being so different myself.
You wanted her
I
to
wanted to like,
evolve.
yeah, yeah, and she did evolve, but the things there are a few times like the wedding episode, and if you want, I can find you a clip of this
Yes.
during rehearsal for the wedding episode. Um, they were like, "All right, Abishola, you're gonna come down and you're gonna do the dance, and then you're gonna go back." I was like, "Okay." So I was ready. I pulled out my Michael Jackson. I'm doing all of that, and they were like, the director comes, Beth McCartney Miller. She comes. She's like, "Fọlákẹ," and she was like, "Remember, you're playing Abishola." I was like, "Oh yes, okay." I was like, "Okay."
Cause you
Run it back.
that's because it's so, and I'm hoping for the listeners, for the folks who are watching on YouTube, like, I can't wait for people to be more exposed to the real Falake,
Yeah.
to how what you put it, because that's what I think is the difference between acting and taking on these other characters. Like in my conversation with Sada Ramirez, they talked about being able to return to themselves and getting
Mm-hmm.
back to their own center and doing your music. Like it's great when you can do a role and do it so well, and we love what you do on TV. We love all of the
Thank you.
roles that you play, but ain't nothing like that spark that's
Yeah.
like fully you, where you get to
Yeah.
let go and
Yeah.
let go to that careless, reckless abandon, as they say, especially in
Yes.
music.
Yes. I'm looking forward to
I'm
that.
looking forward to that. So, and I'm
It's
also
good.
looking
It's
forward to, maybe one day me and you getting in the studio. We gonna talk
Oh,
about
I would
that.
love that. There's no question about
And
that.
you
I
play
would
the
be glad
guitar
to do that.
too, or what you play, bass or
Yeah.
guitar? Which
I play guitar. I played bass for David Bowie, which is the first four, so that
you
was an
said?
easy.
Wait, no, go back. Wait, say that again.
Oh, I played bass for Bowie and for two of his music videos. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just like
I
it's.
told you, man. Land of opportunity. You don't get it. This country, like I dove in. I was like, where are all the opportunities? I'm hitting on it.
Wow. Wait. So there's video footage of this.
Yeah, I'm in the music videos. Yeah,
Let
I'm also in a book that was
Wait.
released
So which music videos?
next day, and the stars are out tonight.
Oh my
I had blonde hair.
goodness.
I look different then. I'm a chameleon, so I look different. I
Oh,
had
but
short,
I
no hair,
gotta
blonde.
go. I gotta go look at this. That's amazing. Well, I mean, just congratulations again on
Thank
such
you.
a beautiful life. Thank you
Thank you.
for the way that you show up and again provide a reflection for those who have felt confined by their environments, that they can break free from that and create whatever life that they want to create.
Yes. Yes.
What do you feel like is what, because you talked about purpose. So what overall, what do you feel like your purpose is?
I feel like my story is part of my purpose. I've come to understand. It's giving. It's given. It's been quite a life already. So dynamic, spanning three continents. Um, I think my gift, my purpose is in my story. I feel like it's also in the way that I'm choosing to live my life. There's so many people, especially because of my show, who are looking and watching, and I think I provide them something that I didn't have, which is a reflection of themselves as someone, especially for those back home, someone that looks like them and what we can accomplish with our minds. This was pure manifestation. It was pure. I'm sure there was a lot of cosmic divine intervention in here, but everything everything that I've created for myself, I manifested sitting in my house in Lagos, trying to find a way out. So I think my story is a big part of that. I think also the characters that I'm playing, just showing folks how versatile you can be in the craft, having been inspired by the likes of our one of our legends, acting legends in Nigeria, Kate Henshaw. Um, she did this project. I just remember, I was so young, I just remember the project, the name of the show as Do Good. But she did so phenomenally well with that character. And just like Abishola, if I may say so myself, completely different from who she was in real life. And that was the first indication to me that you could create anything through art. You can be anything, turn your body into an instrument.
Mhm.
And I think that's also part of my purpose, showing young ladies like me who are growing up in Nigeria or third world countries where they don't really have access, that this is possible. And and my music coming soon. I think my music is going to be very powerful.
I love that you talk about your purpose the way that you do, in such a simultaneously abstract as well as, unique or specific, but more so still living in the abstract of my purpose is my life. Like for, because again, ultimately, especially in this Buddhist practice, we it's really about understanding the phenomena of all things, and that all things work into the whole mix of it, and it is about how you show up to everything, or what we
Mm-hmm.
say taking responsibility or the ability to respond. and
Mhm.
how you are responding to every moment of your life. And are you winning in your moment, life by life, to not get trapped into a space that says, my purpose is acting, my
Mhm.
purpose is being a singer, my purpose is running a company, my purpose is, what have you. What happens when the world flips everything upside down? Who are you? Where are you?
Yeah.
And I can tell that you're that type of person that's like, well, I'm gonna be good.
Yeah,
Like what
that's
you
totally me.
I know it is. I'm like, where the plantains at for Fọlákẹ? Like, let's we gonna be
That
good.
is me. That is me. And I think being in boarding house from such a young age, from 10, that had a big part of it. And while it wasn't the best case scenario to be separated from my family that young, everything has just aligned in my life. As
Mm-hmm.
difficult as it's been, there's always a reason why it's been that difficult. Like I lived from 13 to about to how old was I now? To about last year. So for about almost 20 years, I lived with chronic pain. Every month, for 5 days of the month, I was giving birth to a child for hours. That was the equivalent of the pain that I was experiencing. So I can't deal with any kind of a confinement. If you come to me with for that care, but you're supposed to, I'm cutting that shit down.
I love that
Like
accent.
I'm here to live my life.
Fọlákẹ, but like you just as soon as you said that, I was like, damn, that I love I love that accent. We
Yeah. When I have to get the point across very clearly, so you know what I'm talking
yeah,
about. Like,
exactly.
like, no, I don't have time for that. My life has to be my purpose at this point. My joy. My
Uh-huh.
purpose is to be happy.
Absolute. That is the purpose, is to become happy. And I truly believe that everybody can become happy right now.
Yes.
It's just kind of a shift of how you're seeing the circumstances and how you're seeing your
Yeah.
life. Even like we always say like there's the 10 worlds. So the lowest world is the world of hell, and it's just what the world of hell is when you're in a space. It's not a afterlife situation. It's about when you're in a place of everything. You're surrounded in complete suffering. Even a glass of water, just brings more suffering because it brings longing for more. And
Hmm.
it's like, and as Buddhists, we realize that there's still a way out of hell, and that way many times it's about your inner world. It's about the
Hmm.
ways in which you are reconciling
Hmm.
with who you are, where you are, and what the purpose of your life is in that moment. Not what you think it is beyond or in the future, but what
It's a
is
moment.
needed for me to be in this moment.
Right now, what do that's it's so that's kind of the easiest way to go about a life of joy and content. As long as you have food and shelter, community, everything else is fine. Like
Mhm.
everything,
Mhm.
and then it's
Mhm.
just a shift in mindset.
Mhm.
It's it's thinking in this moment, if I feel unhappy, what's the one thing that will bring a little bit of joy? For me, it's picking up my guitar and playing. And no matter how I'm feeling, if I pick up the guitar, acoustic guitar, and I just get into the strum, even my cats start coming to me. And I think that's the practice is I don't feel good right now, or I mean, I feel great right now, then great. How do I spread that around? I don't feel good right now. What's the one thing within my power that I can do right now that would uplift me?
Well, thank you so much, Falake, for coming here and sharing your energy and spirit with us here in the now. We will be right back. All right. So before we go, I got to leave you with a Buddhist breadcrumb. Okay. So I just want to tap on the 10 worlds again. And this time, focus on the world of Asuras, or as the wise Nichiren Daishonin frames it, the state of arrogance. Now imagine this. It's like walking through a hall of mirrors, each reflection showing you puffed up larger than life, always trying to outshine the others. This isn't just ancient wisdom, honey. It's today's tweet, tomorrow's trending topic, and Hollywood's never ending script. In the world of asuras, or the world of anger, it's all about climbing that social ladder, one upping each other with the slickest selfie or the most retweets or that red carpet look that screams, I'm the star, honey. But here's the catch. While everybody's busy being the brightest star in their own sky, they might just be missing the whole universe out there. In Hollywood, it is easy to see the world of Asuras in action. It's that subtle shade in interviews, the humble brags about who wore it better, or those award speeches that sound more like a pat on their own backs rather than a nod to the folks who helped create the project. It's a high flying kite, all right, looking down on all the other kites and thinking it's the only one catching the breeze. But let's bring this back to you and me. On social media, where everybody's page is a stage. How many times have we seen this where posts read like a showcase of perfection? And each person trying to outdo the last and spinning a narrative that's more sparkle than substance. And beneath those filters and flawless captions, there's often a struggle and just a person that's looking for a genuine connection and not just likes and follows. One profound fact about the 10 worlds is that there's kind of like this yin and yang, or positive and negative side to each life state. So the flip side of the world of asuras, or sometimes called the world of anger, is that sometimes we can have a righteous passion to fight injustice and be a creative force for change, like we're seeing with these college students. We can realize, actually, I'm better than that. Actually, we are better than this, and we must do better. So let's start celebrating each other's wins without measuring them against our own, appreciating the beauty in our differences, and building community that lifts everybody up, not just the ones at the top. So, as we navigate our worlds from Hollywood to our hometowns, let's try to be more than just a pretty face on a screen. Let's be real. Let's be kind. And let's remember that being truly superior isn't about flying solo at the heights. It's about walking on the ground together. Now, go on and shine your light and brighten the way for us all. That, honey, is true star power. No opportunity wasted. See you next week. I'm your